Hey.
Oh,
Hi.
how's it going? Oh boy. I'm saying hi to Liz. She's nice. I promise. You can't do
Like,
that.
hi. Yeah, Mom. It's going really well, Mom.
Right?
I know, my cat's being weird too. I'm like, dude, what do you want? Like, what do you want from me?
Right? Oh my
I
god.
just fed you. I opened the door. Like, this is your cue to just go, sir. Like,
Leave. Go.
I know. There he is.
Peter.
Oh, he's connecting to audio.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Yes. Hello.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, so Kim, Peter, Kim.
Howdy.
Kim is like a wine club member, BFF slash influencer slash WSET2 student slash amazing, all the things. All the things.
And a pretty face.
Good reading. Thank you.
He's super sweet, so we're gonna have the best time ever.
Yes, it's gonna be so good. Oh my god. I'm jealous of his backdrop though with all the wine barrels.
I know. So this is our barrel annex. It's
Okay.
an event space that we created just before the pandemic. I was actually supposed to have my rehearsal dinner in this space. That didn't happen. That's okay. So we've just kind of been meeting here like on and off when we do in-person meetings because it's like nice and spread out, like especially throughout the winter.
Yeah.
And then our winemaker Elena likes to exercise in there, and
Yeah, she does. It's all set up over here.
Love it.
I love it. Like what you don't see is
They're still filtering right now. So
oh man, what are they working on today?
they were filtering the rest of the penetration, the ride or die, and diva, and they are almost stuck. Whatever the last one is, the filter pads are kind of getting clogged up.
Bummer.
So what are we talking about today?
So we're talking about Chardonnay today.
Can you switch it up and talk about something else?
No. I have a whole presentation. We cannot.
Really?
Yeah. So I know.
No, I'm just making fun. I have it all chilled. I just have to go walk over there into the fridge and just get it.
Perfect. So Kim, I know you were at our last virtual tasting, and it's usually like we're just chit-chatting and we open the bottles and stuff. I wanted to do the wine EDU like a little bit different. So that while there will definitely be like that element, or it's my hope anyways, that there will be that element of like chit-chat and tasting the wines and talking about what we're tasting and just kind of letting the conversation flow. I also have like a Google slide presentation that I'm going to do like intermittently. So I guess we'll start off, introductions. I'll introduce Peter, I'll introduce you, I'll introduce myself, and then just kind of I'll launch the presentation, talk a little bit about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and then we'll start opening bottles. And so I'll pull down the presentation while we're opening and like swirling and talking, and then at some point, I guess whenever it feels natural, I'll just kind of launch it again. And I have like a little bit of like factoids about like sparkling and about Chablis style, about California style. And like, please feel free to add in any information that I'm not covering, like any kind of factoids, anything fun, like any like anecdotal stories, like honestly, like just kind of, it's pretty chill. It's just like a little bit different than what we've done in the past.
Sweet. I'm excited. I know some people are really excited about like the 101 like learning.
Yeah, totally.
Too, because I have some winos that signed up that really love the learning of that stuff.
I know. I'm excited. To do this. It definitely is like a little different, and I know that that's what people want. So I tried to I had actually Elena shared a presentation on Chardonnay that she had done in the past, and so I leaned pretty heavily on that and pulled in a lot of the information that she had already gleaned, but then kind of just like put a fun spin on it. Like we're doing wine, but we're like for normal people.
Yeah. Well, I always call myself like the relatable wine drinker because like I'm not very serious.
Yeah. Which
Like,
is why you
I enjoy wine. It's fun. I love wine.
totally. I don't know. That's our vibe too. I think that's why we love you so much. We're like, yeah.
Well, that's
she
why I
gets
love
it.
you guys so much. Like the first time I walked in that tasting room, walked out with the membership, and it's been true love ever since.
I love it. Awesome. So as far as order goes, just gonna do sparkling first, followed by foreplay, followed by here to stay.
Cool. Sweet.
Does that sound right to you, Peter?
So, Lizzie, do you have data on these wines, or?
I don't. So I kind of have here. I can show you two. I can share my screen with you first since we have a little bit of time here. So I'm hoping you guys can see that. So it'll be a little bit of like a brief history of Chardonnay, like where it comes from, where it's planted, what the deal is, kind of thing. And then I have, these are the icons that we use on the blog post, and we've used a little bit in social media. And then I'm just gonna like verbally talk about like it's non-vintage, like no surprise there, because I'm talking about how most sparkling is non-vintage. And then like 100% Chardonnay, Blanc de Blanc, and then I have ABV in the AVA, but I don't really know much more about this, Peter. So if there's anything you want to share, particularly about the bubbly white, that would be helpful.
Okay. I don't know much, but I will give you some.
Awesome. If you were to be like, you know, like so-and-so bubbled this up for us, because this is when we don't make in-house. I mean, sparkling is just its own beast, honestly.
No, we can give a shout out to Ancient Lakes, and you know, that they helped us put this together, and you know, with the equipment that they have that we don't have. You know?
Right, totally.
I mean, if you want to get the bubbles right, you really have to have the equipment, and it's expensive, and you really need a certain know-how in order to, you know, consistently create something that is bubbly and that is consistently tasty and stays within the boundaries you can establish, so that everybody's happy. But yeah, they're great people to work with.
You should say all of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say
all of that.
I think that would be great, because I think people would like appreciate and understand it too, kind of. So
yeah, it's definitely its own.
I mean, that's what we generally do. We make the wine, the base wine, and then we go from there. You know, so
yeah.
That's my wine.
And then I just have some. I think I spelled cuvee wrong there. I gotta correct that. Just some more notes about sparkling, and then foreplay. Just talking about how it's Chablis style, chiller cousin to Pinot Noir. I actually did not write what vintage is this. For 2018.
Hey, can you want to see something? Come here. Real men drink wine. I gotta wear
yeah, I love that t-shirt.
This is my husband, who's also a big fan of
Hi, Kurt.
Hi,
Nice
husband.
to meet
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Real men do drink wine. It's true.
He has the penetration shirt too.
Nice. Oh my gosh, that one has like a cult following. No joke, cult following.
Oh my God, I want to show you something because of the foreplay bottle. Ave, Christy, and I, we worked on something today. That is really awesome. Let me see if I can. I don't think this is the final, but I have it on my phone, so I can just show you. Can you see this? Oh,
let's see.
Wow.
Oh, sweet.
That's fun.
So that's going to be
neon?
That's going to be printed. It's going to be a piece of art based on our label designs. So it's totally, I mean, it's our stuff.
Yeah.
And that will get printed on metal in a kind of a neon style, and the wavy background is just something that we've done in the brand. And so we are getting test prints done as we speak to see how that will come out. But I am so pumped up.
That's awesome.
We will use that in all the tasting rooms, and then doesn't look like a label, but it is our art, so people can associate that. And yeah, we're so hopeful. We're so excited.
That's so cool.
We just ordered those samples today, and hopefully they will be done quickly. And then if that works, we can then do whatever we want with all the label designs and even sell them if you want to. So
I was gonna say, I was like, wait. I was like, I want one.
Right?
Yeah, so
Oh my gosh.
something really cool today.
That's awesome. That looks great, Peter. So much fun stuff happening, Kim. You're getting like behind the scenes.
I know. I'm like, oh my God, can I just be a part of this all the time? You don't have to pay me. Like,
All right. Just speak out.
You're like, I just want to listen to it all. Oh, I wanted to ask too, is there a way, because I know the link is like taken down like for the registration, because I wanted to get my husband, he wanted to watch it, kind of a thing. Like like a way to get like a link quick or like a number for him to like the
code. Let me see here. He can't register for it anymore. It's down.
Yeah, I clicked on it and it like took me to like Zoom's like home page, but
oh, weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Try it again, because Christy, my wife, tried to do it yesterday.
Okay.
And she was all up in arms that I should call Liz because she wouldn't get accepted. And so then she tried it a couple of more times, and all of a sudden it worked.
Oh,
weird.
Could I like forward him this exact link would be fine, right? Like it's not gonna.
I think it's like a unique link. That's the only thing with these like Zooms that you have to register for. Yeah, it creates a unique link. But I am going to copy this. If I email this to you real soon, will you be able to?
Yeah, I have it on my phone. So.
Okay. I'm just, because all I can do is copy the link. He has to register. So if the link isn't working, I do not know what to do.
No, that's okay.
Okay. Let me see here.
Oh, I got it. I got it to pull up.
Okay.
So you're good.
I'll send it to you anyway.
Peter was right. I don't know why he didn't like me earlier.
Just being silly. Putting this phone on airplane mode. Okay. What did I say that was wrong?
I've already popped my bottles, by the way.
Nice.
I was like, I'll pop them early. I'm like,
no worries. We always wait just because actually I should have given you a heads up because people really like to watch you open them for some reason.
Are you already opening bottles?
This is a twist off. We could do that. Well, I had to do it because I had to pour a little bit out for my husband because he's out on our patio gonna watch this. And I was like, oh, well, I want you to be able to taste it and drink it. So I opened everything.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Okay. I think I have this sorted. I never did a spell check, so we're going to see how this goes.
Okay.
Oh. So Kim, do you have any specific questions or anything? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm excited.
Okay.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Buffalo, New York, is where I'm from.
Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, that is cool.
Yeah. Yeah. My aunt lives in Oregon, which is how I like discovered Naked Winery, now Evoke Winery. Because I visit her often. I love Bend. So I walked into a tasting room and like I said, I fell in love. So it was great.
So how do you feel about the name change?
It was, I'm not gonna lie, it was hard at first because I have like the attachment to like Naked Winery, but I really like it. And I like what it like stands for and like evoking memories, which is what I love about wine mostly, is like because you can create so many wonderful memories. And I have so many wonderful memories at Naked, at the like tasting room and with Naked. So I was like, oh, well, this is perfect, like an easy transition. I just got to get used to saying Evoke.
Well, you know, we still are getting used to it. So
yeah.
It is really difficult sometimes, you know, when we talk, especially when you get a little bit excited about something.
Yeah.
It's like,
yes.
Oh, you know, a Naked Winery. Sorry.
Yes, I did that today. I was like, oh yeah, my tasting with it. I was like, oh wait, it's Evoke.
But even today, I stopped by. I had sort of an up and down day today, and at one point, at 1 o'clock or whenever it was, I had to stop by the tasting room and have one glass of wine. But there were two couples, and They
Oh,
were saying, well, it's really bad it's kind of sad that you had to give up your name. And I almost wanted to chime in, but I was so
yeah.
beat up. But they said, no, but still, we like everything else is the same, so we kind of like it. But it
Yeah.
is really sad that you had to do this. And I almost wanted to say, we didn't really have to do this. We were not forced to. Nobody kind of pointed a gun at us.
Right.
But it was the right thing to do to move
Right.
forward in a much better way.
Yeah.
And so, and that's, to be honest, I mean, we all miss it because we all lived it for so long.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
But it is it was the right decision. I feel good about that. It is the right decision. And I do feel that the Evoke name works. And especially now that we can kind of build on it, it's going to be really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. It's going to be great.
Liz, I mean, your place looks so nice.
Just this corner.
Are you decorating just for TV?
Yeah. I was like looking at it and I was like, it looks like there's like feathers coming out of my head. I was like, that looks weird. Like, I don't know about
You
that.
look pretty, don't worry.
Oh, yeah. We just moved into our new place, Kim. So it's like this corner looks really nice, but like just off camera is absolute chaos.
Chaos. Yeah. I remember that when we moved into this place, moving back home, and I was just like, oh, I have like the one space that looks good, and then the rest was like an explosion.
Yeah. I was like, this is TV ready. Everything else, not so much.
I have the barrels as the background.
Right?
Yes, but I love that. I love the barrels in the background.
No, I gotta get a barrel up in here.
I know. I want the like planters that are like a half of a barrel. Have you ever seen that? Yeah.
We just did that. We had a bunch of barrels, actually distillers barrels, for my husband's brewery at our wedding. They were like setting up, like we used them to put this massive piece of wood on as like a massive table for food, and then we just had all these barrels afterwards. So that when we moved, I was like, let's just cut them in half and fill them with dirt, and then we don't have to make garden boxes. And he was like, okay. That's what we did. It looks great, actually.
That's great. Good idea.
Turns out.
I've seen people turn like a barrel into like a dog bed, and I'm like,
oh, they turn them into everything.
Oh, yes, right. I've seen that too. Must be a small dog, though.
Yeah, I know. I was like, my yellow lab wouldn't fit in that.
Oh man, Peter's got some big fluffy pups. They wouldn't fit either. Oh yeah.
I have one left. Yeah.
I know. Oh, I know.
Poor little girl, and she's not happy. She's finally sleeping again through the night, though. We finally figured out her sleeping medication, and Christy was like a science project. It really, if you give everything at the right time, I can sleep in my bed again. Oh. Otherwise, I would have to kind of get up at random hours in the middle of the night and move to the couch with the dog.
Oh.
And I mean, that was for weeks. For like 6 weeks, I had to do that every day.
Oh.
Until magically, literally, my wife figured out something. I don't know. I still don't understand exactly what she does, but it's very, very, she asked me, Christy said, Peter, when are you ready to go to bed? And I said, why? I don't know yet. She said, no, I need to know. I need to know what the dog needs. I said, okay, how about 15 minutes? Okay, good.
Yeah.
But you can't say no. Don't change your mind.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But whatever it is, it works. So I get to sleep again, which is really nice.
Yeah, you're like, finally, I can sleep.
Well, we love those.
That's rough.
Yes.
They turn into your babies. I mean, and that's really like a baby, like not sleeping all night. That's like definitely baby territory.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I should start texting with Lindsay or so,
I know. Did you get any sleep last night?
Hey,
Me neither.
Me neither.
Can't wait till she goes to college. Oh, wait.
Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah. What you save on college, you can spend on wine, right? Like, that's the thing with pets as kids. It's the greatest.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, it's nice.
So do you have kids? You have a dog, Kim, right?
I have a dog, yes.
No kids?
No kids. I prefer dogs, if I'm being honest.
No, that's fair enough.
Fair. Yeah.
Me, I don't know. I always wanted kids, but I'm kind of good that it just have a dog.
Yeah. It's kind of nice. I always tell people I like to sleep, travel, and like alone time, like relaxed time too much. Like,
I feel that.
yeah.
Have you seen the meme that's like plants are the new pets, pets are the new kids, and kids are just this? I think I told you this the other day. The kids are just this crazy thing that rich people or crazy people have.
Yeah. Right.
I know, relatable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Tiger King.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Like that's how I feel when I see people with like 5 kids. It's like I'm like, are you Tiger King? Like why do you have all these?
How do you do it? I
What
don't even
happens
know.
if they escape? What do you what?
My sister has 3, and I'm just still just like, I don't know how you do it.
I don't either. My cousin has 2. She's like a sister, and I'm like, the next time I go to the doctor and they ask me what my current form of birth control is, I'm saying it's going to be stories about your teenager. I don't know if I said you that either. I have so many conversations, and I feel like I just repeat myself constantly. I talk in sound bites. I'm just like a walking effing Instagram feed. This is what happens when you do social for a living. It's like, I only talk in memes, so hopefully you haven't seen this one.
I love it though. I get it.
Oh, but I went to a birthday party last night, which was so bizarre. But everyone was vaccinated and it was inside. And I was having this thing where I was like, did I already have this conversation with you? Or was it with that person? I was just like, I'm having a hard time tracking.
I do this
very loud and there's a lot of people, which is so distracting because it's been a year.
Yeah, like all of a sudden, like trying to figure out how to socialize with other people.
Oh, it's awkward. It's so awkward. Like knocked the beer out of someone's hand at like the first party I went to. As I went, someone tried to give me a hug. My body like rejected it. I like knocked the beer out of someone's hand.
What do I do with this?
My body was like, no.
Yeah.
Don't let him touch you.
I don't want it.
It was so, I was like, I can't even explain to you how awkward I am. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Like, this is how we're comfortable now.
Yes. Yeah. We're on that level.
2,000 miles of distance.
Yeah.
And a strong Wi-Fi connection.
Yes. Thank God for Wi-Fi.
Well, it's kind of interesting. And we talked about it a lot, but it's been a really rough time, but we also learned a lot.
Yeah.
Comfortable with things that most people were not comfortable with. I remember, the first time I did a Zoom, and like, oh my God, I couldn't see who I was talking to, really. Or when we did a wine tasting and we were talking to the camera.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Right. Like,
but now it's getting better and it's actually kind of fun. And now if you turn it into something that it's like a learning experience, then it's really only half bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
I still enjoy some of the virtual stuff. Like this is great. Like I love being able to be at home and doing stuff like this.
No, totally. And that's like the thing too, like this has given us the opportunity, that's like having to be virtual has given us the opportunity to really try and connect with our club members that are, on the other side of the country. So it's been this kind of like revelation where we're like, oh, well, we're just going to keep doing this regardless because that makes sense because these people don't get to see us on a regular basis. So now they do. Like
not like exact numbers, but are there other members that are like spread out like throughout the States, or is it mostly like West Coast?
We have members everywhere. The concentration is definitely in Oregon and Washington.
Yeah.
But California is sizable, Texas, Arizona.
Texas.
Yeah.
A lot in Texas.
We actually have interests from 2 areas in Texas who want to open a satellite tasting room. Yeah.
Wait, so then I can pitch one to have one here in Buffalo?
Yeah.
I've always joked about it. I was like, I need a tasting room here.
If you are willing to move to New Jersey, it would be a no-brainer.
Okay.
Because actually, so it's really difficult there are barriers to entry for an out-of-state winery.
Okay.
But as much as I learned, one of the easiest states to get a winery license or get a tasting room going is in New Jersey. So to open one up like an Evoke tasting room would be super straightforward.
Easy. I didn't know that. Okay, good to know.
You got a business going.
Yeah. Like that would be great.
But then you have to live in Jersey.
I know. I'm like, Jersey.
No, there are some nice
There are
places.
very nice places in New Jersey. It's true.
I'll
My
have to
There's some
husband.
very unique people.
Yes, unique people. Yes, that's a great way to say it.
And there's no good wineries.
No, yeah. I'm like, a Jersey winery? Ugh.
You've got like the Finger Lakes, and then you've got like Monticello, and like that's about it. It's like Virginia, Finger Lakes.
Yeah.
That's all
I
you
didn't
get.
think about, you would go, what is it called? Ashbury Park?
Where's
Isn't
that?
sort of like a very trendy community town, and lots of gays and you know,
Yeah.
free people. I mean,
Yeah.
if you, I may be mistaken, it may be a different name, I don't know.
Okay.
But it's like a town like that, very progressive, very open. And just imagine, you are a winery that is fun, that is modern, that is young, that has kind of some suggestive labels. It was good back writing, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly,
Yeah.
be so busy, and that would be sort of I needed a project. I mean, that would be definitely what I would consider, especially now that we can start flying again.
Yeah, that too, yeah.
I mean, you have a direct connection from Portland to New York, you're done, or, you know, Newark, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you can get people over there, and then trucking, you just, you know, that's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Max is starting to
Plant, eat.
Do it. Let's just do it.
Texas, though, that's really interesting to me. I don't know. Texas has like a pretty decent, like they call it like the hill country, like wine country, like Fredericksburg, like near San Antonio. I've been there once, and I had a great time and I enjoyed it. But so that's really cool.
Actually, one of my favorite sparkling producers is in New Mexico, strangely enough.
Oh, interesting.
Really,
cool.
Yeah. It's really weird, and I love it. It's like Gruet. It's in New Mexico. I was like, how is this a thing? I don't know enough about New Mexico. That feels weird.
Yeah, right. I didn't know that either.
I don't know.
I'm going to a wedding in Ohio in a couple, like 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm like trying to like, where are the wineries?
Oh my
like
God.
what exists there in Ohio? There's a couple, not very many, but
good luck with that.
I'll see.
Oh, you know what? There's an interesting thing that I read today in one of the wine business news. You know that Gallo did research, and based on that research, they are suggesting that other wineries should consider making sweeter wines. It's like up and coming. People are switching again back to sweeter.
Yeah. Wow.
Just an FYI, just today.
That's
interesting.
Huh.
I think it was in Wine Business Daily.
What does that mean? Like, why would that be?
Unfortunately, I have not read the whole article yet, so I don't know exactly what they're referencing, but
to be continued.
Next generation sort of thing, like the next up and coming, like 21-year-olds.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just actually listening to the common palate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's really the growth is no longer in sommeliers or people who are fine wine drinkers. Maybe the growth is capturing people, the everyday Joe, so to speak, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they tend to have a sweeter, you know, I mean, they want to have sweeter stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody starts sweet.
It's easy
Everybody.
drink, you know. And we know that at Evoke. We know that because we've always had some sweet wines, and we've had great success with them.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking sugar water. I'm just talking sweeter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, sweeter. I've gifted some of your guys' sweet stuff to like my mom loves sweet wine, my sister loves sweet wine. So I've gifted some of that to like my friends that I do know that like sweet stuff. So but that's interesting because I feel like I was more hearing people like liking the dry stuff. So it's really interesting to me that they're finding that people are starting to like the sweet stuff again too.
All right, guys. Well,
getting ready.
Almost 5:30. So I'm going to start this, and then we'll just let people kind of shuffle on and see how it goes. So we're live. Get all the nerves out. All right, we have people coming on.
So you're going to run the show, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all right. I like it.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Got people coming on still. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Welcome.
Oh.
Hi.
All right. Just wait a little bit longer before we dive in to Chardonnay. See if we get any more people. Okay. Well, I guess we can get started then, just with intros. For those of you who are new, welcome. I'm Liz Kravitz. I do a lot of our copywriting, and I also am our social media maven. I'm also the least qualified person here to be hosting this, but I am. We also have Peter Steinfeld, who is our head winemaker and president of Evoke Winery. And then we have Kim Schwarting, also known as Namaste Grateful, and she is our club member, BFF, WSET2 student wine influencer extraordinaire, and she has graciously joined us here today to talk about Chardonnay. So this is our welcome. Yeah, it's our first Wine 101. So you guys, after our last club tasting, we did a little bit of a survey, and that's something people were asking for. So, you know, give the people what they want. So this idea is really yours, and it, just remember that you asked for it. As we get farther in. So yeah, cool. I guess we can dive in here. It's gonna be a little different than our normal tastings. I'm gonna have some slides for us, but we're still gonna be popping bottles and drinking wine and, you know, chit-chatting and all the things. So it's gonna be great. So let's see here if I can do this technical stuff. Okay. So Chardonnay, guys. What is there not to say? Chardy party. So we chose Chardonnay as the first topic basically because of its versatility, and also because how generally misunderstood of a wine this is. I like to say like Chardonnay is kind of like the Merlot of wine, like the white version of Merlot. People just tend to say they don't like it, and they don't really know why. They just know that they just think that they don't, but it might just be because they haven't met the right Chardonnay anyway. And the thing we like most about Chardonnay is that it is so versatile, and that no matter what kind of wine you typically drink, whether it's white or red, there really is a Chardy for every party. So let's dive in here. Okay. So a brief history of Chardonnay. It is kind of like the miscongeniality of the wine world. It's actually the second most planted varietal in the world with over 400,000 acres. It originated in Eastern France. And it's a hybrid actually of a peasant grape called Gouy Blanc and the more aristocratic grape, Pinot Noir. And it, let's see, originally Chardonnay clones were developed at the University of Burgundy in Dijon. And that is the reason why a lot of clones are called Dijon clones, because that is where it came from. And they were first planted in Chablis at an abbey, of course, in the 12th century. A lot of wine history, it's almost always originating out of some religious place, which I think is kind of fun.
The same is true for beer too.
I know, it is true. I know, it's always the abbey. It's like, okay, we're pious, but like not biased. I don't know. But Chardonnay came to the United States in 1930 when the Wint family in California propagated their own warm climate Chardonnay. And then that's when it kind of became the forefront of white wine in the US. And actually there's over 102,000 acres planted in the United States today. So then they did try to plant it in Oregon, and originally it did not go so well. Those went, I guess it's Wenty. Those clones, they didn't really like it up here. They were used to sunnier, warmer weather, and that is just not Oregon all of the time. So it didn't go well, but to no one's surprise, people ended up planting more Pinot. But today they do have some newer Dijon clones that are thriving here in Oregon. They're actually kind of second best again to Pinot Noir. It's kind of an emerging varietal, and people are really loving it, and people are really planting it. They're living their best life. Right now in Oregon, we have about 1,350 acres. It's the third most planted varietal in the state, actually. So that's a little bit about that. So let's start drinking, because that's what we came for. We're going to start with our non-vintage Bubbly White. It's our first Orgasmic sparkling wine. It is 100% Chardonnay. So it's a Blanc de Blanc, technically. It's about 12.7% alcohol, and the grapes are coming from the Columbia Valley AVA. So let's pop some bottles.
Hey.
All right. And then I did forget to mention with Q&A, if you guys have any questions that come up during the tasting, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A box, and then we're gonna go through those at the end. So yeah, if you have any questions, or if you have any other little details that I'm not mentioning, because like I said, the least qualified person, like please, by all means, share away.
It is a bubbly. Did you hear that?
No, you missed it. I'm sorry, I'm talking over you.
I just popped the cork. It's really good.
All right.
Wow.
I am loving this wine, Peter.
Look at this. Ooh.
It's so pretty.
Look, this is the new Evoke glass too.
Ooh. Oh, I haven't seen those.
Those are nice.
Yeah.
That looks awesome. Look at the shoulders on her. Oh, man.
Mm.
It smells so good.
All right.
Yeah. I'm super happy with it. It smells so nice.
This is great. Oh, man.
Bubbles are good. See, that is always the biggest challenge. When
The
you
bubbles?
make is getting consistent bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And you know, we've been working on this and trying this in-house so many times, and we finally resigned to not do the bubbles in-house. We make the wine, so we make the Chardonnay base, and then we send it off to the professionals to do it. And in this case, we send the Chardonnay off to Ancient Lakes in Quincy, Washington, and they have an extremely high-end bottling and carbonation facility, and you know, they chill the wine down to almost freezing, and which then allows the CO2 to be injected and absorbed by the wine. And as you do that over a few weeks, you slowly kind of impart these bubbles, and then they have a very highly sophisticated counter pressure bottling line to kind of capture these bubbles, keep them in check. And yeah, and it is so nice, because when we tried it on a small scale here, there was no consistency at all. But yeah, you know, if we wanted to become a bubbling house, we would have to invest exorbitant amounts of money. So this way is a really nice way to have our wine turn into something deliciously bubbly. So this is what that is, and we are very proud. It turned out really nice.
Yes, it's delicious.
Oh, I'm loving this one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. I love bubbles. There's just something about it.
Yeah.
Breakfast wine, maybe that's it.
It's fine.
You know, the funny thing is that I am not a bubble drinker at all. I mean, champagne for me is almost, I mean, literally, I will say cheers and pretend, and then it's game over. But when it comes to like a Prosecco or like a bubbly that we did, which is kind of trying to mimic the Prosecco, I actually can do this. And this one in particular, it's very pleasant. The bubbles are not too bubbly. They're not aggressive. They're just smooth.
Yeah.
They're light, consistent, and yeah, it's appealing. And for a non-bubble drinker, I'm excited. I'm very excited. And it is just one way a Chardonnay can be made and be enjoyed.
Yeah.
No?
Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. Let's dive into some bubble facts here then. Okay.
I think somebody just pointed out that they kind of got some apple on the nose and really nice fruit still.
Oh, definitely.
And I think that is the nice part too, in my opinion, is when you have a Prosecco style or bubbly like this, you still get a lot of the base nuances and flavors of the original wine. And, you don't get that yeasty feeling that you get in a real champagne.
Right.
Or that nuttiness. So I'm really fruit forward kind of guy. Yeah.
Lots of pear. I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, that is a good point. When you do the Prosecco style, there's less of that, like those autolytic notes, like the bready, yeasty thing, and it just like really lets the varietal just kind of shine because it is just so bright and bubbly. That's a really good point. I never really thought of it that way. I guess too, when I have Prosecco, I don't really know what kind of grape it is. So it's nice that like with this, it's like a Prosecco style, but it's 100% Chardonnay, and so you know what you're tasting. Like it just, I don't know. I like that even more about this. Learn something too. So good. Okay. Let's see if we can't get some factoids up here. Okay. So, sparkling wine factoids. Sparkling wine was first created, again, monks, abbeys, and they think probably around 1693. Like all things that are super duper old, the date is widely contested. No one really knows, but it's kind of a thing. I don't know. Anyway, so Dom Perignon is not just a champagne house. It's actually the name of the person who created champagne as we know it today. He established the principles of modern champagne making that we still use. But it's funny because actually Dom Perignon spent a lot of time trying to get the bubbles out of his sparkling wines, primarily to mitigate the effects of re-fermentation. So the way that I've been told that champagne was created or discovered or kind of came into being is that these monks would bottle the wine in the fall and then they'd put it away. And then in the spring, when it started to warm up again, they would re-ferment in the bottle. And when it's not done intentionally, it's actually kind of terrible. But that's like the origin story of Dom Perignon and the sparkling wine. Other fun little facts, let's see. Sparkling wine outside of champagne is not actually allowed to be called champagne. Technically illegal. So that's why we get things like bubbly white and sparkling, things like that.
By the way, I have a little bit of a little story that, so I learned winemaking from my uncle, who was mostly a distributor of wine, but he made some wine and I learned the basics in small batch winemaking. And so one day we were sitting in the evening and I had dinner and he had made this beautiful Hungarian kind of goulash thing. And we were sitting there having dinner and I was old enough to have a glass of wine. And all of a sudden we heard this banging from downstairs from the cellar. And it was just like rapid fire. It started slow, it's like one pop and then another. And then all of a sudden went boom, 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 boom. And we were all just totally upright at the table and going like, what is going on? And my uncle looked at me and he said, I don't know what that is. And then all of a sudden this light bulb went on. He said, oh my God, that's my wine. So then we all ran into the cellar. And exactly that thing happened is that he had bottled a certain batch that he knew there was residual sugar, but he had totally forgotten about it. And it started re-fermenting. And just when we had dinner, the initial bottles kind of started blowing up, and it was so hilarious. And he almost felt embarrassed. Turns out that once he recorked, the initial stuff went away. The wines were really good. It was bubbly. It was not super champagne-y, but it was a bubbly wine. And in the end, he was rather proud that he made it by accident. But it's just like you said, starting the wine in the fall, and then all of a sudden when it heats up, but you have to know what you're doing, otherwise it's a mess.
Totally. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious, Peter.
I'm a big fan of sabrine bottles.
I saw that photo you posted. That's so fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
I mean, opening a bottle with a knife. It's dramatic.
Yes.
It's a statement. I'm into it. It's bold.
It's like a party trick.
Yeah, totally. See, sparkling's fun.
Yes, exactly.
I love it.
I know.
Okay. Yeah.
There was a question for what to pair with the bubbly. I'm a big like charcuterie board and bubbles. I know some people are big on oysters and bubbles. I can't do oysters because I have an allergy, but I've heard wonderful things about that combo.
Oh, so good. I love a charcuterie board. It's really just like a Lunchable for grown-ups, you know?
Oh, someone's too. That's cool. I should try that.
Oh my gosh. Chips. I love potato chips and champagne. It sounds crazy and silly, but it's frivolous, I know, but it's like a little bit decadent and kind of ridiculous, and I love it.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, actually, champagne is super fruit. Like sparkling wine is very food friendly. Sparkling wine and rosé are just about the most food friendly wines you can buy. Yeah. They just kind of go with everything.
I think bubbly is also really, you know, how many people put a strawberry into a prosecco or any kind of a fruit, anything like that. It's just really nice. I mean, I can associate having a bubbly with a nice fruit salad also, so for lunch or brunch or breakfast, you know, whatever.
Oh man, so good. Also, Natalie says popcorn. I feel that. I love popcorn.
I think popcorn would go more like later on when we taste the Here to Stay.
Good call.
I think that's popcorn for me. Yeah, maybe, but you know, but to each their own.
Goes with everything.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I don't know. So there's only three varietals allowed in Champagne. It's Pinot Meunier, Pinot Noir, and Chardonnay. So Pinot Meunier is like a little bit more obscure. It's mostly planted in Champagne, but it's kind of this like mutant genotype of Pinot Noir and Pinot Gris. That's allowed in there. Let's see. Other thing. So this sparkling wine is non-vintage, and actually most sparkling wines are non-vintage, especially in Champagne. Rarely release a wine from a single vintage, so you'll almost never see a date on the outside of your bottles when you're shopping in your wine store looking for a sparkling. It's because the weather in regions like Champagne and the Willamette Valley and places like that, it just varies so widely from year to year. So in order to create a consistent product year over year, they will typically blend their base wine before they do the secondary fermentation or forced fermentation. So before it gets bubbly, it is typically blended, and it's almost, sometimes they call it a cuvee, sometimes not, but you'll almost never see a vintage. But if you do, it's because that year was just so extraordinary. The winemaker decided that it was too good to be blended. So if you do see a year on the outside of a sparkling bottle, you should absolutely buy it because it's probably fabulous. What else? So this is a fun one. I didn't know this. My husband is a microbiologist, and we were talking about bubbles, and he works in beer. And so he was saying that like the CO2 in sparkling wine actually pushes alcohol into your bloodstream. And that is the reason why it makes you feel so good so quickly. So just keep that in mind whenever you are celebrating responsibly. Right. But that's, I think, why champagne like feels a little different than like a normal still wine. You're like, why am I so giggly? Why am I so this? It's because CO2 is literally pushing that alcohol like into your bloodstream. Let's see. And then sparkling wine, as we know it today, is actually developed by a woman. So Veuve Clicquot, who you've probably heard of, it's like that yellow label, it's super fancy. Veuve actually means widow in French. So Madame Clicquot was a widow. She was running a business in the 1700s, I think, which is kind of unheard of. And she actually is responsible for the riddling method that makes sparkling wine so clear. So champagne method, this is a little bit different. This one is naturally clear because we didn't add yeast in a secondary ferment. This is a whole nother webinar. Anyways, all that to say, she developed this method, and her competitors, it took them about 10 years to figure out how she was getting the wine to look like that. They couldn't figure it out, and they couldn't compete because it was so beautiful. So yeah, we actually,
she was super strong. Yeah, she was super strong as a woman, and it was very initially when she took over, she felt like, oh my God, how am I going to deal with this? But then she, just really committed to it, and she was smart enough to figure it all out and just started the whole movement really, and was so successful because nobody could initially figure out what a riddling rack was and how you could slowly kind of move the yeast into the neck, by doing so, just turning the bottles just enough over time, to make that happen and clarify the sparkling.
We did actually, in the before times, we did a class at our Hood River tasting room with Martin and Mallory at Sunday School Wines. They came in and taught a badass women of champagne class, and we learned all about Veuve Clicquot. So huge shout out to them. It was awesome, and they actually do virtual events. So if you're into this kind of thing, you should check them out on Instagram. But yeah, they're great. All right, that's what I have for that. I guess we can move on to Foreplay, which is our Chablis style Chardonnay. So let's see. So it's a little lighter than like the California Chardonnays that most people associate Chardonnay with. So it's crisp, light, no oak, no butter, just lovely. Oh, man. And it has a twist top, which I love. Okay, let me see here. I'm gonna stop presenting. Okay. And this is one of my absolute favorite labels in the lineup. This oyster here. It's like subtly sexy, which I'm into, because oysters are very much an aphrodisiac, and with a foreplay, you get it.
And we're having art made.
That's true. We are having some really fun art made with the foreplay oyster. Plus, it pairs well with oysters.
Yes, it does.
Gosh,
it smells so good.
Yeah, again, you get some nice fruit, some lemon, maybe a little bit of lime, very nice color. I mean, this is the interesting thing, like you said earlier, Liz, that people, when they hear Chardonnay, they often say, "Oh, I don't like Chardonnay."
Totally.
Winemaker and somebody who's kind of traveled along the edges of Chardonnay for a long time, meaning I lived in California for a while. California, hot climate, heavily oak wines, like a meal in a glass, was sort of what I loved. And then I got so saturated with it. And for a while, even I thought that there is nothing but that wine out there. And that is, I no longer enjoy it at all, until I moved up to Oregon, really, and discovered that there were more and more stainless steel Chardonnays that expressed much more the actual fruit, although some people argue and say there's not that much presence of any flavors. It's a very bland kind of all the grapes. There's not much there, but I don't think that is really true.
I don't think so either.
There's a lot of good zesty, lemony, lime, some of the hotter climates, like where we source the here to stay, like Washington area. More into the desert, you get some more tropical flavors. So really, there is so much you can discover within the Chardonnay that, gosh, that is why tasting rooms are so awesome. You start with the bubbly and you just go all the way down.
It's funny, I kind of like taste the similarities between like this and the sparkling. I could never really put the two together because I'd never tasted them one after the other, but it's really interesting. I'm like kind of enjoying that.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. We're just like, oh, like that's because that's what the grape tastes like. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not masked with all this oak or all the other things that some people do. But it's like, this is very much like characteristic of like an Oregon style Chardonnay, is this like Chablis style, which like you, Peter, like, I mean, I had only, I hate to say it, but like my only connotation with Chardonnay was like the 2 liter, like a Woodbridge.
Yep. Same. Like the really
Like the sins of our mothers in the 80s was like all that I was left with as far as like what it is I thought Chardonnay was.
Yeah.
But also I wasn't drinking in the 80s, so I do like the oak stuff too. It's like I don't have a palate that's like blown out by that and it's like over it. That's also very interesting as well. But definitely the Chablis style is like a more recent discovery, and I'm into it for sure.
Me too.
That cooler climate that Oregon is so famous for. I mean, no wonder it's growing in popularity. Like this is a perfect place to grow this grape, for sure.
So good.
It's funny. When I was prepping for this, I was thinking of like a kind of like anecdotal story or whatever. But one of the best and worst Chablis I ever had was the same Chablis. So let me just say, so I got married in July, and it was pretty hot, and had a very like traditional Jewish wedding. And so you like drink out of this, like you drink wine out of a cup, and the wine in the cup was like this French imported Chablis that we had like purchased for our honeymoon. And I was like so chaotic. I was like, just take this, we'll drink this, whatever. So it's the best because it was like such a lovely moment, but it was the worst because it was so hot. Like, have you ever had like 90-degree like Chardonnay? Like it was a little ridiculous. I don't know. I think about this still. I was like, I bet you that was a really nice wine, but like the only thing I can remember about it that it was like
it was a nice occasion, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
It's like a steaming cup of tea, like how some people drink like hot Dr. Pepper. It was just like very odd. It didn't go for sure. Oh man. Okay.
So good.
Well, should we talk about Chablis then? Let's see. Okay. So, all right. So Chablis style versus California style. The Chablis style typically comes from like a cooler growing region like Oregon. And so you're getting like less ripe flavors, more of that green apple, that Meyer lemon. And it's definitely a style that's more expressive of the grape itself, like we were saying with the sparkling. So typically producers that are making this kind of wine, they're forgoing a malolactic fermentation. So whether or not you know what that means, malolactic fermentation typically is what results in that like buttery flavor that is so common in a lot of those like mass-produced California Chardonnays. They are typically skipping the oak altogether and opting instead to age their wines in stainless steel before bottling. So what you get is a kind of light, crisp, perfectly balanced wine that most white wine drinkers like absolutely love. So it's definitely becoming like the more prominent style of Chardonnay made, thank goodness. And it's definitely a go-to wine for people who love wines like Pinot Gris and Sauv Blanc. Definitely less of those green notes that you would get in a Sauv Blanc, and I think a little more intriguing than Pinot Gris. So I think it's definitely like a more interesting white wine, to be sure. Which is kind of the tragedy of like the hard pass on Chardonnay. Those people that are like, I don't like Chardonnay, and maybe you don't, and that's fine too. But if you haven't tasted one in 10 years, like I definitely encourage you, like next time it's offered, just take a sip and see. And maybe you don't, and that's fine too. Like drink what you like, absolutely. But definitely like Pacific Northwest Chardonnays, like people coming out of, or wines coming out of Oregon, they're typically more of this style, this lighter Chablis, stainless steel style Chardonnay. So just, don't assume necessarily.
No, and I think that is really the important part. If you go out, wine tasting and you generally think Chardonnay is not your thing, the one question you can ask, is what style is it? Is it, an oaky Chardonnay? Is it barrel fermented? Is it, You know, if they say yes, then you know kind of which direction they are going, and then you're getting a meal in a glass.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of oaky notes. Or if they say, well, it's pure stainless steel, then I think you get more of the region, the varietal expression, and a lighter expression of a Chardonnay. So at that point, I think it's very clear if you know, you want to go either or, but it's a very simple question. It's just, you know, is it, which style is it made by? And then the you know, your host can tell you, and then you can make that determination right there. And I suggest, though, when it comes to stainless steel, go and explore. And well, that's also true. That's also true with the, you know, the oaky ones, the California style, because not all have the same level of oak, the same level of butterness. You know, we play around with it all the time as well. But yeah, I feel you have to ask that question if you have any precomposition, you know, or predisposition of what you like or what you don't.
Yeah. And now you know.
Oh.
Not all Chardonnays are created equal, turns out. Okay. All right, so should we move on to the last one? We have our Here to Stay Chardonnay.
Oh, there's a cork in it.
There is. I was surprised as well. I was like, wait, I thought it was screw cap. Turns out, not so much. So this Here to Stay is more of the California style. So it's like what most people would associate with Chardonnay. But this one, I think is fabulous. They're 2019 from Columbia Valley, and this one actually took a gold or double gold at the San Francisco wine competition. So we don't always brag, but you know, double gold. You gotta do something. Kim's already prepared. She's got everything open. She's trying to play catch up.
Like I'm already smelling, sniffy.
What you got, girl?
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Like,
and these ones I like to drink a little warmer too. So I like that we've gotten this like towards the end. Most people drink their white wines too cold. You can't really taste them.
It's nice that these Chardonnays kind of like you know, like the Here to Stay is good for like the red wine drinkers. If you're like an avid red wine drinker, the Foreplay is really good for like the citrusy white wine drinkers, and everybody loves Bubbly. I'm sorry if you don't like Bubbly, I don't know.
The Chardy for every party.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm into this one. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, I love it. I know people like don't like the butter, but I'm into it.
I normally
said, oh my God, she loves this. So
it's so good.
I normally don't like the butter yolky stuff, but like the three, they're just so good in their own unique ways, which is what I really like love about it. But it's not like overpowering. It's like just enough without it being like, whoa, holy butter, like butter bomb, like bomb in your mouth.
Yeah, totally. So good. I think I love it because it goes so well with cheese, and cheese is like my favorite food group.
Give me all the cheese.
I was like, should we make mac and cheese tonight? My evolved palate.
I feel almost like I get a little bit of caramel or
the vanilla too.
Butterscotch, vanilla.
Yeah.
And then there is a little bit of that buttery popcorn thing, but it's really delicate. It's not like when I mentioned earlier, the California, like the meal in a glass.
Yeah.
That's overly buttery and just heavy. This is not heavy. This is nice. And like Kim, I think the idea of that you mentioned, you know, this is a red wine drinker's Chardonnay. Mm-hmm. You get all what you like in a barrel aged red wine, in a white wine, nicely balanced. And then you just get that softness of this little bit of buttery. I can understand why we got a double gold for that. Yeah. Go Elena, go Adam.
I know. Cheers for that. Oh man, so good. Let's see. Vince says, I heard somewhere that you should take white wine out of the fridge 30 minutes before serving it and put red wine in the fridge 30 minutes before serving it. Yes, I have heard that.
I've heard
I think that is very good advice.
Yeah, some red wines do really well, like light chill. They just kind of bring something else onto it, which is like the 30-minute thing. Like that's perfect.
Like white wine is typically too cold, red wine is typically too warm. I would say the only exception to that is sparkling, which is meant to be served on the cusp of freezing. And I've had a somm tell me that before. So.
I would agree. Yeah. The interesting thing is when, you know, I'm European, and in Europe, the white wines tend to be, people enjoy them more, a little bit warmer than in the United States. In the United States, most wines, like you guys said, are served way too cold. Mm-hmm. People seem to like it that way. Whereas in Europe, the whites are much warmer or not quite as cold. And then the same is true for red wines. The red wines in Europe are served cooler than they are served over here.
Because they've been doing it for like 300 years longer than us. So
they've been playing with it a lot.
They got it down. They're like, this is really just trust us. Trust us and our grandparents and our grandparents, like we figured this out a while ago.
Somebody just said, you know, they get creme brulee on this. I think that's really awesome. That is actually very, very good. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I love creme brulee too. Oh.
Creme brulee is so good.
Have you ever made it at home? I have tried. I've done it. It's interesting.
Yep.
And
it turned out great, but it's definitely better to just order it at a restaurant, 100%.
Yeah. Like, flavor of love, like very, it's almost like cheesecake. Like if you do too much, like if you do something, all of a sudden it's like done. Like be careful. It's delicate.
Yes. It's interesting. I mean, with all custards, I'm like, yeah, no, I'd rather pay for this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Okay, let's talk about California style chard here. All right. So it's definitely like a more New World style. This kind of came about as clones made their way to the United States. Although there are some places in France. So I got a lot of these notes from Elena, our winemaker. And she had mentioned that Chardonnays from the Montrachet region of Burgundy are actually quite similar to a California Chardonnay, turns out. And then the movie Bottle Shock focused on a California winery called Chateau Montelena and Chardonnay that was entered in a blind tasting in Paris in 1976. That later went on that beat out every Burgundy Chardonnay that had entered into that competition. This is such a pivotal moment in the industry that it's actually just known as the Judgment of Paris.
So put California on the map.
It did. It put U.S. wine on the map, really. It's like a big deal in the industry for sure.
Everybody should watch the movie.
Definitely. It's a good movie. Chris Pine's in it. Good time. Open up a bottle of Foreplay. Yeah, so not a cheap date. So don't let the 2-liter bottle of Woodbridge fool you. Most high-end producers are using brand spanking new oak barrels to age their California style Chardonnays in. And they don't come cheap. These barrels are like upwards of like $1,200 a pop, and they're using a lot of them. And that's where you get all that vanilla flavor. A lot of body comes from that as well. So it's money well spent, but I think there is this kind of connotation with like a buttery Chardonnay that somehow it's like not of high quality, but really if you're buying it from a high quality producer, more than likely all of that is coming from new oak, and it's extraordinary, really. Think about it. So this, speaking of butter, the buttery attribute in these kinds of Chardonnays, these California style, is because it undergoes a malolactic fermentation, which is actually really similar to a red wine. A lot of Cabernets, Sauvignons undergo an ML fermentation. And that is when a very specific bacteria is added to the wine, and that bacteria goes to work converting tart tasting malic acid into softer, creamy lactic acid. And the byproduct of this process is a compound called diacetyl, which is what gives you those buttery flavors. It's actually what they add to like margarine products. But that's actually where it's coming from. So also aging on lees. So WTF are lees. So lees are leftover yeast particles from autolysis, which is really just a fancy way to describe what happens to yeast during fermentation. So when someone's throwing words at you and they're like autolysis, you're just like, oh, fermentation. Got it. Still and sparkling wines aged on lees are often described as creamier, richer, full-bodied, with greater depth and complexity. So they leave those yeasts in the wine as they age in barrel. And those wines that are aged in barrel with the lees, it allows them to extract additional aroma compounds from the wood itself. So that's where you're getting more of those aromas of like sweet, caramel, and vanilla flavors. So even though this style of Chardonnay is widely misunderstood, it's actually ideal for red wine drinkers, because between the malolactic fermentation and the heavy influence of oak, the process is essentially that of what a winemaker would do with red wine, but they're doing it with a white wine grape. So definitely the California style is very much like a red wine drinker's Chardonnay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the sur-lie is really something that I feel matters a lot when it comes to softening a wine on the red side or the white side. The tricky part, however, is sometimes with when you leave the dead yeast in the barrel and don't rack the wine, you have to make sure that your wine is really healthy and your yeast is healthy, because it can be rather counterproductive if you don't watch out. And that's where the skill of the winemaker is so important, that they pay attention to what's happening in the barrel to the lees at the bottom. Because if a wine can get very stinky if it's not really in absolute top-notch condition. Another thing that, and we've done this in the past, in order to even enhance the softness in the wine and use the lees even more, sometimes you can go in there and actually stir these lees up so that there is even more exposure to the liquid inside, which kind of drives the softness and the even further, and makes the mouthfeel it makes the whole wine creamier and creamier. But again, you have to do it to make sure that those lees are absolutely healthy and don't impart some kind of off flavor, because you can very quickly go to different directions.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, I was talking to Elena about this last week too, where a lot of people will do your primary fermentation and your malolactic fermentation at the same time, but she does not like to do that because you have far less control. So she was saying that we do our primary fermentation first, and then we add the oniococcus to the wine to do the malolactic fermentation second. So that way you can adjust, you can correct. There's a little bit more control there. It's not just this kind of like crazy thing that's happening, like this train that can't stop, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, that's true. And it's the thing is, I mean, although they are not eating the same compounds, and they're not literally competing for food, but the one thing is I also prefer, and well, that's why we're both doing it, is, you know, finishing one fermentation and then immediately, as you know, the initial fermentation generates heat, which is important for the malolactic to start. If you have something really cold, so if you start a white wine, for instance, sometimes you want to have a very cool fermentation to extract all the flavors throughout the fermentation, the initial fermentation, to break the sugars down and get the alcohol. the longer that takes, the more extraction you generally get, and the cooler you have to keep the temperature for that initial fermentation. But then you need the heat that's left or that is generated, you need that for the malolactic, because the malolactic needs that warmth in order to survive. So if you use chillers, you have to actually bring up the temperature for the ML secondary fermentation just enough so that one can take over and do its thing. And I feel that, you know, to get most out of both, you know, having the right equipment again, having the chillers and doing it step by step instead of merging those steps is a way better way to do it. At least for us, it seems to work very well. And obviously, Elena has proven that over the last 2 vintages with 2 double golds in a row on this wine. So,
killing it. Seems like the double golds are here to stay, you know?
yeah, that's nice. I like that. I like that.
Here's to Elena.
I know, right? She's killing it. She's just killing it. All right. Well, let's see.
Oh,
I think that is really nice. I'm like, what am I going to make for dinner to go with this? Poor Kim, on your side, it's a little late. You've already had dinner.
I've already eaten dinner. This was like dessert.
There you go. Love it. We've had dessert first. So.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see if we have anything. So yeah, that's kind of what we got for this. If you guys have any questions, we're definitely here to answer.
I think there are a lot of comments and maybe some questions. I see that. They're like,
yeah. Let's see. Got a little bug.
Are you waving me off? Hey, Peter.
No, I've got a little like fruit fly who just won't stop. But yeah, thanks for coming to our Shardy party. I don't need to share this. Let's see. Q&As. Yeah, now I do want some creme brulee.
Sounds good right about now.
Yeah. Ready for dessert before dinner, obviously. Baked bread, definitely. All right. How long does it take to harvest the grapes? Is the question I have.
How long does it take to harvest the grapes?
Yeah.
Depends on your crew. If you tell them to pick as quickly, no, but I don't know exactly what that question means, but if you look at, you know, the initial bud break is somewhere, you know, April, May, and then depending on your varietals, there's a growing season that goes into, for champagne, you start picking grapes in August in California, for instance. You start picking some other stuff around September in some of the warmer climates. We tend to start our harvest probably the second week in September generally here in Hood River, all the way into late October, depending on the varietal. And once it's ripe, you know, we call our growers when we want it picked, and they will pick it the day we specify, assuming they have a crew or machine harvester. And then it goes really quickly, gets delivered here, and then we immediately try to get to work and process the fruit and try to make some wine.
Yeah, it generally goes pretty fast. It's kind of crazy. And Chardonnay typically comes off first. I mean, like
one
really
of the early
first.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I know, like in Napa and Sonoma, it's like, oh, they're picking Chardonnay, and then you know you've got like in Oregon, it's like, okay, we've got like a few more weeks. It's coming off.
It's kind of funny when it comes to the news and when they said, oh, harvest has started in California. That is, I mean, that's when we are totally going into shock, because like, oh, we are not ready.
No, not even close.
We know the harvest start is because they're starting to pick for bubbly, you know, for champagne, for everything, which is picked earlier than anything else. So it's sort of, for us, it's the wake up call. Oh my God, get ready, set, you know, and start cleaning everything.
Get your house in order, because it's coming. Winter is coming, as it were.
Some firewood.
Let's see, we got the evergreen question from Brianna. Why did we change our name from Naked to Evoke?
Oh boy. It's not because we had to, okay? But it's because we wanted to, and because it was the right thing to do. Without going into the really long story of it, unfortunately, the world is very interconnected these days. And there was once a little company in Hood River that was Naked Winery and Naked Wines LLC. That was us, or is us still. But at the same time, there was one much bigger company that was called Naked Wines PLC in England, that sprung out of a company that is called Majestic Group, which used to own a lot of liquor stores. And they decided to go into the online business and invade, that's what I call it, the United States wine market in a way that was rather revolutionary and different. And we can argue if it's a good thing or a bad thing, if they are, that's their business model, not ours, which leads us to why we wanted to change our name. But they entered the market and flooded everything with coupons and cheap wine and a model that was not ours. Unfortunately, they were really big, deep pockets, and not easy to work with. We tried for years to come to terms with them, and we're actually friends. But we both wanted to continue on our path, and because of social media and no boundaries and borders, we felt the confusion that came out of this whole thing was getting to the point where we could no longer distinguish ourselves with who we were and who we are. We are into people, we are into connections, we want to make memories, we want to be tongue-in-cheek, we want to have fun, we want to have great labels, and we have a tasting room model. And we don't want to just sell cheap wine. We want to create family. We don't believe in a coupon business. And given the whole social media situation and where everything is going, we felt we could no longer speak to who we are from the heart. And we could no longer execute what we dreamt up early on and what we want to continue doing. And so a couple of years ago, I started, luckily they had a change in management, and we started communicating, and we decided not to work, not fight with lawyers, but start working together on a plan. And that plan eventually went to that we came to an agreement that we would rename, and they would carry on with the Naked Winery or Naked Wines name. Nick Devlin and I, the owner or the CEO and president of nakedwines.com, became friends actually in the process. We didn't have to sell, we decided, or give up the name. We did it because we wanted to stay true to who we are and who we want to be. We want to stay true to our team, our winemakers, our partners, and we want to do that standing on our own two legs and not being confused and mismatched in the industry and with our customers. So it may take a while for you all to adjust. And by the way, we were talking about this earlier. We still sometimes say, when we discuss things, we say, we as Naked Winery, and we're like, oh my God, no, we Evoke now. So we all love Naked. We all love the name.
We do.
But we feel what's more important is that the same us, the same you, and it is just a different name. And that is what we are focusing on. We are focusing on the things that we have done well and we can do better. And we are focusing on our friends, customers, members, and we want to deliver what we've always delivered, is a good time, good wine, and be a solid friend to you all. So that's why we did it. And I feel really good about it. It was a hard decision, by no means. It was not an easy one, and it took time. And I have to thank our team coming up with that new name. We are all pumped, we are stoked. And we hope you all are. And I hope that you all stay with us and believe in what you've seen in the past and what you will see in the future. So that's a little bit of a story on that. Sorry about that.
No, that was great. That was great.
That was good. That was perfect.
Yeah, still us.
Yep.
And the names of the wines aren't changing. I mean,
No, the name, no, actually, that was a question I saw.
That was the thing.
No, they're not. It is literally, the only thing is no more naked winery, no more naked wines. But
like
Foreplay
teeny
is
tiny in the corner. That's it.
penetration, climax, all of this, and there are new names to come. Like I said, it's literally only the naked name. And everything else stays the same, and we are very proud of what we've done.
What's in a name?
What's in it? There's a lot in Evoke.
That's true. That is true. Oh man. Awesome. Well, last call. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Kim. It's so nice to like hang with you. And I mean,
good to see you.
Yeah, we absolutely love you, and thank you for being such a huge fan. Like, we adore you, seriously. So thank you for doing this with us.
I adore you guys too. So it's a
we'll have to
feeling
do
to be
it again.
Thank you so
For
much
sure.
for this.
Awesome.
And thank you for everybody that joined too.
Thanks guys. All kinds of fun. We'll have to do this again.
We love it. We love you. And thank you, Liz, for putting this together. Thank you, Kim. Thank you. And I will definitely enjoy the rest of the wine tonight. Maybe not all of it, but
maybe not all of it.
I will get home first, and yeah, we'll enjoy it. Thank you.
We're doing another club tasting June 17th. So mark your calendars. There'll be more communication about that as club wines go out at the beginning of the month. For those of you who are club members, for those of you who are not, definitely check it out. And yeah, June's gonna get excited. Kim, I'm so excited for you. The June club wines are.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
The club wines for June are freaking amazing.
Yes, I love it. Okay,
we're
sweet.
finally sending bottles out into the world that say Evoke on them too, so it's fun.
Oh,
it's like,
I mean,
yeah, I actually think all the club wines, the club specific wines, are all Evoke labels. So we're making progress. We're making progress.
Oh, that's
it's happening, guys. It's happening. Awesome. Well, thanks again, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.